he wouldn't be on the bus with all the other inmates going to court. No, they would have him on a separate transportation detail. They would have special escorts to take him back and forth to court, but he would still have to go through the searches and stuff like that. Jail is very demeaning if you're an inmate, right? Because when you come into the facility, like say Sean Puffy came in last night because they picked him up, they arrested him. He has to go through a search. They have to bring him into the receiving room. They have to make him take all his clothes off. They have to search his clothes, search him, make him run his fingers through his hair, open your mouth, turn around, squat, cough, all of that.
What's happening with Diddy behind bars is jaw-dropping. The music mogul has found himself in a Brooklyn federal prison, and the sources are buzzing that he's facing a brutal reality.
Sean Diddy Combs is locked up in a federal jail that has been plagued by harsh conditions and violence. The Metropolitan Detention Center in Brooklyn has seen multiple deaths in recent years. An inmate was stabbed to death in July, and several others have died by suicide. It's these reasons, among others, that Combs' lawyers are fighting to get him out of there. They want him released on bail rather than being kept in jail while he awaits trial on sex trafficking charges. Combs is just the latest high-profile defendant to be locked up at MDC Brooklyn. Before him, there were R. Kelly, Elaine Maxwell, and crypto scammer Sam Bankman-Fried. Maxwell complained about her treatment at the facility, which included round-the-clock checks in the wake of her associate Jeffrey Epstein's jail suicide. A few years ago, a week-long power outage in the dead of winter left detainees in drab, cold conditions. Judges have also raised alarms. They've pressed the Bureau of Prisons for status updates and implored the agency to fix things. One judge even refused to send some defendants to the jail.
Diddy is reportedly facing serious threats to his life from other inmates at the Metropolitan Detention Center in Brooklyn.
You say his fame makes him a target.
Yes, in my humble estimation, his life, his safety is in jeopardy in any correctional lockup right now. If it is true, as reported, that he is housed in the special housing unit, it's important to note that the special housing unit is a lockdown, 24-hour lockdown unit. The MDC Brooklyn is a high-rise. The vast majority of the floors are general population floors. But the special housing unit is a 24-hour lockdown facility. So this is for Mr. Combs' protection. His incredible worldwide celebrity combined with the allegations, the charges now, and indictment, of course, of acts of violence against women make him a very attractive target. So obviously they need to safeguard him.
The allegations of misconduct and exploitation of women against him, combined with his high-profile status, have made him a potential target. Some inmates might view harming him as a way to gain notoriety. To mitigate this risk, prison officials have placed Diddy in a special housing unit, isolating him from the general population.
And one of the rules is if anyone comes in with a sex offense or a crime against a woman or a child, right away, it's KOS, kill on sight, or at least they're going to get a hell of a beatdown. And I've written extensively and talked extensively about the prison stories I saw, sex offenders trying to go undercover in general population, and the horrendous, horrific things that happened to them. They had it coming. I'm not saying they didn't deserve it, but it was some of the most graphic, gruesome violence I ever personally heard or saw the end results out. People getting carried out. One guy, he was on a stretcher, looked dead, and there wasn't just blood coming out of him. There was yellow stuff coming out of his head, like brain fluid or something coming out of his head. There was another one who had convictions of that nature.
Diddy's life in prison is getting worse day by day. Recently, the feds have revealed that Diddy has stopped eating in jail out of fear that his food might be poisoned. This paranoia stems from concerns that individuals with whom he has past conflicts could bribe someone inside the prison to tamper with his meals.
Larry, spill the tea. What are you hearing about Diddy's eating?
Well, I got an inside source there at MDC, and if they knew who it was, they'd really plot. When people go into custody, they have anxiety, they're depressed, a lot of things go through their mind. And one of the things they do is they stop eating. They lose a lot of weight. Look at somebody coming out of prison. They look like a POW or something, but they've been through the ringer. Now, there's a collateral issue that may be here. Look what happened to Jeff Epstein. I got people every day saying, you think they're going to Epstein him? And I go, well, I really don't know.
According to Larry Levine, a former inmate familiar with the prison system, Diddy is reportedly avoiding prison food for this reason, although other sources also mention the poor quality of the food and the general anxiety surrounding his situation as contributing factors.
Imagine if someone paid someone off on the inside to actually poison his food, give him a heart attack, and he dies. And no one would really think anything of it. So that may be one of the reasons he's not eating. He's really, really paranoid. He's really, really scared. He doesn't know what to think. He doesn't know who to trust or what to believe. Then he had a religious visit also, and a dietitian come talk to him. Now, there's a possibility that he wants to go on a kosher diet. It's prepared a little bit differently. It's like it's a religious diet. That could be another aspect as well. But I remember when I first went into custody at MDC Los Angeles, and I didn't eat for a couple days.
Some people suggested the poor living conditions, poor food quality, and the constant threats in the prison can also be reasons behind Diddy's eating habits.
You know, it's traumatic. You know, there's no other way to say it. And you know, they send you to the housing area, and then you're in a room that you've never been in before, and it's just one bed there for you, and the bed is a twin-size bed. He's probably used to sleeping in king-size beds with all the comforters and pillows and a television set, and you know, he doesn't have that now. He's in a cell. And his cell is no better than any other cell that's in there. So if the cells are run down, his cell is run down too. They're not gonna put him in a special suite or anything like that. He's gonna get what everybody else gets.
Ghislaine Maxwell famously said some pretty strident things about the MDC Brooklyn lockup and the food and how terrible it was, and that she had been losing a ton of weight. Is it possible this is a protest?
Well, at several BOP institutions, Federal Bureau of Prisons, institutions across the country, there's food strikes going on where people are refusing to eat because of the quality of the food and the way they're being treated. And that could have carried over to MDC.
Diddy is currently being held at the Metropolitan Detention Center, MDC, in Brooklyn, a facility notorious for its harsh and dangerous conditions. The prison, which has housed high-profile inmates like R. Kelly and Ghislaine Maxwell, has a reputation for extreme violence, poor living conditions, and inadequate medical care.
Diddy Combs has been denied bail in connection with the sexual abuse and sex trafficking charges he faces. And as Les Trump reports, the music mogul who once traveled by private jet to all those mansions is now in a jail that is notorious for its bad living conditions.
Music mogul Sean Diddy Combs spent his first night behind bars inside a facility that is being called hell on earth. The Metropolitan Detention Center in Brooklyn is notorious for its appalling living conditions and rampant violence. How bad is it inside this federal lockup? There have been 2 murders, 4 suicides, and numerous stabbings and lockdowns in recent years. It's so out of control inside that 4 federal judges are reportedly refusing to send any more prisoners here. Donald Trump's former fixer, Michael Cohen, spent a harrowing year in federal custody. He says for someone used to a life of luxury like Diddy, prison life is a severe shock.
You have a desk, you have a plastic chair, you have your bed with a 1.5-inch mattress, no pillow, and you also have a locker. So you basically have 3 feet by 5 feet to move around. So you have a basic 15 square feet. It is a horrible place.
It's often referred to as hell on earth by both former inmates and legal experts due to frequent fights, unsanitary conditions, and a lack of proper oversight.
A judge denied his request for bail a second time, and the place where he's locked up now getting a lot of attention. The Metropolitan Detention Center, the only federal jail in New York City, is known for violence, poor conditions, and a string of celebrity detainees. And Diddy's attorneys want him out.
Inmates at MDC Brooklyn, like Diddy, often face severe psychological stress due to the harsh environment of confinement. The lack of adequate medical and mental health care only worsens their condition, leaving them vulnerable to the brutal realities of prison life.
He had breakfast, they woke him up. Usually when an inmate has to go to court, we wake them up around 4 in the morning, 4:30, because they have to be sent to the receiving room. They have to eat first, and then they have to be sent to the receiving room. They have to be searched, and then they have to be cuffed and taken, to transportation. The cuffs are usually cuffed at the arm with a waist chain on. So being that he's going to be traveling by himself, he's going to be cuffed, and they're going to have a waist chain on him.
Diddy's former bodyguard, Gene Deal, has raised concerns about the severe mental toll the music mogul might be experiencing while incarcerated. Deal has suggested that the intense stress Diddy faces in prison, coupled with the overwhelming legal battles and isolation, could push him to the brink of ending his life.
And I don't want to bring this guy's story up because it's old. And I know he's trying to live past it, but I'm going to bring it up anyway. And when they come out with this other stuff, he going to come back to work. I wouldn't be surprised if he do the ultimate sin, is suicide. Because bruh, he's such a narcissistic that he couldn't stand not being somewhere and not being seen. His whole life, his whole career was about him being seen in the public. It was about him, taking everybody else's dreams and making them his. And now, him nor his kids would profit from anything.
This comes amid reports that Diddy has been placed on suicide watch at the Metropolitan Detention Center, MDC, in Brooklyn, a facility notorious for its harsh conditions and violent atmosphere.
Breaking news right now, Larry. I am just getting word. People magazine says it's got a source on the inside that tells them that P. Diddy's on suicide watch tonight. Do your sources confer the same information? Are they saying it was possible?
Yeah, he is on suicide watch. This guy thought he would have went home. All of a sudden, he didn't get bond. Remember, the first night that he was there, he was like an overnight guest. When they told his bond hearing, now they checked him into the system, and reality has hit him. And I understand that he has a shrink coming by his cell to see him several times a day. They have housing units. And they're mixing bank robbers, drug dealers, rapists with white-collar people. And this is why Diddy, he can't go into a regular housing unit because somebody will take him out, for sure.
While Diddy's legal team asserts he is focused and determined to fight the charges, the emotional and psychological pressure is undeniable, especially given his stark transition from a life of luxury to the brutal realities of prison life.
We made a bail appeal to Judge Carter. It did not go our way. The fight continues. We're not giving up by a long shot. I told Mr. Combs I'm going to try and get his case to trial as quickly as possible. I'm going to try and minimize the amount of time he spends in very, very difficult and I believe inhumane housing conditions in the special housing unit of the Metropolitan Detention Facility. And I'm going to do everything that I can to move his case as quickly as possible. I understand that the government has a great amount of electronic devices that they have to download and provide to me, but everything's on the government's timetable, nothing's on the defendant's timetable, and they're going to have to accommodate me and him and give us a quick trial, and I'm going to be pushing for that. I think he came out. Mr. Combs is a fighter. He's going to fight this to the end. He's innocent. He came to New York to establish his innocence. He's not afraid. He's not afraid of the charges. There's nothing that the government said in their presentation today that changes anyone's mind about anything. He's been looking forward to this day. He's been looking forward to clearing his name, and he's going to clear his name. And we're going to stand by his side as he does. We believe in him wholeheartedly. He didn't do these things This was a 10-year relationship. There's no coercion. There's no crime. There's basically just, someone who brought a civil case and now is finding themselves as a witness in a criminal case. And we're going to fight this case with everything we have, as is he. And eventually he's going to be shown to be innocent. And so tomorrow we fight again, and we'll fight every day until we don't have to fight anymore.
Diddy's attempts to secure bail have been denied twice. Despite pleading not guilty to charges of trafficking and racketeering, prosecutors have argued that Diddy poses a significant flight risk due to his substantial financial resources and international connections.
Rapper Sean Diddy Combs remains behind bars this morning while he awaits trial for his alleged sex crimes. Cheryl Castoni with the details now. Cheryl.
Maria, this case continues to be fascinating. Sean Diddy Combs reportedly now has been placed on suicide watch after being denied bail in his sex trafficking and racketeering trial. This was first reported, by the way, by People magazine, this new information. Now, although his mental state is unclear, Combs is being held, we know, at Brooklyn's Metropolitan Detention Center. His lawyer has said that he wants to see Diddy moved to a federal facility in New Jersey. We shall see. He's been denied bail twice this week. Now, all of this coming as his former protege, Shine, says that his life was, quote, destroyed by Diddy after he was convicted of first-degree assault in a 1999 New York City nightclub shooting and then sentenced to 10 years in prison. Diddy was also accused in that shooting, but during the trial said he fired the gun in self-defense, and then he was acquitted on all charges. Combs' next court appearance is set for October 9th.
They also expressed concerns that he might intimidate or threaten witnesses, given his history of alleged victim tampering.
Diddy's lawyers were so eager to keep him out of jail, they offered his palatial $48 million home in Miami Beach and his private jets as bail. Today, they are even offering to restrict female visitors to his homes, except for his mother, daughters, and the mothers of his children if he is released. They told the judge the jail he was being sent to is dreadful, dirty, inhuman, and an ongoing tragedy.
How's your dad doing? How's your dad doing?
Family members appeared somber as they arrived at federal court in Manhattan today in another attempt to get out on bail.
The court has deemed him a danger to society, citing the severity and violent nature of the charges against him.
We are monitoring Sean P. Diddy Combs in court. He has pled not guilty, and the prosecutor is arguing that he should be held in jail. He should not be released on bail because he's reached out to witnesses and victims, and some witnesses say they are scared of him. This is according to the prosecutor. They're saying that he's reached out to some victims. The Assistant U.S. Attorney Emily Johnson is the one making this argument to the judge. She says that he's reached out to some victims. After Dawn Richard, a former member of a music group Combs started, filed her lawsuit on September 10th, Combs reached out to another member of the band who publicly denied the allegations 3 days later. Johnson said Combs called and texted other women 58 times in 4 days. Stuff like that. Just reading off the report from CNN.com. And Kevin Frazier, you heard him allude to it just a few minutes ago, that what else is going to come out of all of this?
As a result, the judge has ruled that keeping him in custody is necessary to ensure the safety of the community and the integrity of the judicial process. This high-profile case continues to unfold, with Diddy remaining behind bars at the Metropolitan Detention Center in Brooklyn, awaiting further legal proceedings.
Sean P. Diddy Combs being denied bail and having to sit in jail until the sex trafficking and racketeering case is in front of a judge. This is a really, really big deal. So a New York federal judge denied him at the arraignment hearing on Tuesday. Listen, he is huge, executive, very powerful person. And unfortunately, that came back to bite him in the butt because the charges that were unsealed earlier this week accused Combs of running a decades-long racketeering conspiracy that included sex trafficking, forced labor, kidnapping, arson, bribery. If he is convicted on all these charges, he potentially faces a sentence of a life in prison.
Flight
risk.
Yeah.
And that he also could go and intimidate witnesses if he's released. So she ruled, sorry, no. I agree with the prosecution. He needs to remain behind bars. So a massive loss for him.
So Sean Diddy Combs was just arraigned on his indictment of sex trafficking and racketeering charges, and he was denied bail. I'm shocked, for one. I'm Eliza Orland's career public defender in Manhattan for the last 15 years, and I just heard this news that, in fact, the judge denied him bail and he will remain in custody. He will remain in jail through the pendency of this case. Now, granted, these are extremely serious charges and he is facing up to a life sentence if convicted on the racketeering charges. But I thought that his attorney's pitch, which was for a $50 million bond and putting him in home detention in his Miami residence, would be accepted by the judge. But that is not what happened. And the judge said that he will be detained. Defense lawyers apparently will be appealing this ruling to the district court, and he did, in fact, enter a plea of not guilty today. There is no trial date set yet, but the hearing date is next set for September 24th. It's certainly not unusual for people to be detained pre-trial. However, the defense put together a proposal which basically offered home detention with GPS monitoring and a $50 million bond and handing over his passport, restricting his travel. So I'm just a little bit surprised that no bail got set in this matter and he's just being detained pre-trial. If folks are interested, I would be happy to go into more detail about the pitch by the defense counsel as to what they were offering up instead of pretrial detention, but I am floored, and it looks like this case is going to proceed while Sean Combs is in custody. Leave other questions in the comments and follow along for more.
And it seems like Diddy is not going to be out of jail for several years if he is convicted of all the crimes he is alleged to. He might have to spend decades of his life in prison.
There's really no deal that the U.S. Attorney's Office can offer, and it's certainly not one that Diddy will accept. It would involve decades in federal prison. We're talking about mandatory minimum sentences of 10 years for both the drug charges and the sex trafficking. So we know that Diddy has fought charges before. There were state charges, there were gun-related, the nightclub shooting with J-Lo, but he's going to dig in his heels, and this case is going to trial. So if you're prosecutors, you really want to make sure that your evidence is bulletproof before you go down that route.
Do you think the conditions Diddy is facing are common for other prisoners as well? Let me know your thoughts in the comments.